Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome inside a Thursday edition of Running Point. All these days are kind of messed up for me now because I've been working from home for the last couple of days, and now we're back in the studio live from wonderful East Palestine. I should say I'm back in the studio. Ty, you're still in Ravenna.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a trek to get down to the studio, and I mean the roads and the snow. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, tough it out, Ty. Come on, be a man. Ty, I don't want to break this up, but did you get a haircut? You look kind of
it needed done too. I was holding on to that winter hair, but I was like, I gotta let it go at some point. It's getting too wild. My hair is it doesn't cooperate at length. It doesn't.
When it goes long, it's just like, I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah, pretty much. It does. It has a mind of its own. So need to keep it short.
Didn't know that you'd have hair care on today's episode of Running Point, did you?
I thought you were going to say, who knew they had hair care out there in Ravenna? I was going to be like, wow.
They don't even have it. No, it doesn't exist.
On the entire town.
When you look at last night's results, we have to start with a milestone night in Springfield. The Tigers win 53-17 over Middle Ridge, and junior JC Mullen gets to 1,000 points.
At that 1K club now already as a junior. And I mean, it is limitless to how much more she could accomplish in her career being only a junior and having another full season presumably in front of her. Big things to come in Springfield, and who would have thought, right?
She needed 12. She scored 23. And
I think she wanted to make sure she got it.
Maddie Lesnick was also in double figures with 12 on the night as Springfield rolled 8 different Tigers scored, and they were rolling. They had more points than Middle Ridge finished with by the end of the first quarter.
That's a beautiful basketball being played over there in Springfield.
Olivia Booth had 13 points for Middle Ridge, so she put together a strong night, but it just was not enough to beat the Tigers. JC Mull, I mean, to do 1,000 points is impressive in itself. To do it as a junior, that means that, like, one, you have to start as a freshman. There's no way you get it without starting as a freshman. But let's just
unless you are just dropping the most sadistic box scores on people as a sophomore and a junior, and you're averaging like in 30s.
What would you say on average? Maybe 24 games a season, maybe 22 in the regular season. Let's just say.
Yeah, 24 times that by 2
is 48. And then, well, how many games have they played so far?
I think that was 14.
Is that 14?
Yeah, so in 62 games, you just got to go 1,000 divided by 62 is what I would do.
That's average. That doesn't feel right, but it's 16.1. It feels low.
It feels like it could be low too, and I mean the game total might be a little bit off as well.
Right.
I mean, people forget that you averaging 16 as a freshman doesn't happen a whole lot.
No, not at all.
So I mean, it could have been that she averaged 10 as a freshman, and then she averaged 22 as a sophomore, or something along those lines. 12 as a freshman.
Actually,
20 as a
game. That's game 16.
Okay, so it's a little bit more, but yeah, I mean that's just an average throughout the career too. And I mean, freshmen don't come in usually and contribute that heavily. Those are a dime a dozen.
I mean, we're just guessing with the 24 games in 2 seasons. It could have been 22. It could have been something else. But you're roughly averaging in your first 3 years of basketball, roughly 15 to 17 points per.
Yeah. I mean, getting that much production from a freshman, that's a diamond in a rough. I mean, it doesn't happen often where that many points get scored by a freshman. Now, freshmen that come in average around 5, 6, like those, yeah, those are more a dime a dozen. But even to be able to get 1,000 right now, I figure she has to be averaging somewhere at least 10 as a freshman, and that's impressive too. Like that is diamond in a rough. Like not many freshmen can come in and contribute 10 plus points of offense immediately right out of middle school.
Right.
So I mean that's impressive in of itself. Anytime you could crack 1,000, it's impressive. Anytime you do it in less than 4 years, that's very impressive.
Yeah, let's see. In her freshman season, they played 23 games.
How many?
23. They were 11 and 12. And then last year, in the COVID year, they played 21.
So there's 44 plus 16.
So what is
that's
60
even.
If JC Mullen played in every game, which I'm just assuming she did, I don't know if she missed any, but if she did, she's averaging 16.6 if you round up,
a little over 16 and a half. Yeah,
16.7 points per if she played in every game from the start of her freshman season to now.
Yeah, and I mean that's impressive. I mean, like I said, I mean, freshmen aren't averaging 16, so it could be a case where she averaged 10, 11, and then she averaged in the 20s a lot next too. So, I mean,
I wanted to look at that, but unfortunately, probably because of the coaching change, Springfield's Max Preps doesn't have the stats from her freshman.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. But I mean, still such a fantastic year, and to have a whole season in front of her. I mean, if she has more production averaging in the 20s, she could definitely crack that 1,500 club too. With the remainder of this season tournament and the entirety of next season, if she presumably comes back, that's incredible too.
We'll have to do some digging, but she could be approaching, the territory of all-time leading scorer at Springfield next season.
That's incredible. That accolade under your belt. That's very impressive.
I know. I'm throwing out some names that I remember from watching Springfield over the years. Brooke Schreiber was pretty good down there. I think she graduated in 2012, maybe. So you got her. You got she went to college in. I'm going to remember this name by the end of this show. It was really good. Beat South Range on a buzzer beater half-court shot. Never forget it. I want to say it was Callie something. I'll look it up and I'll get it.
Anthony,
it's gonna bug me.
Grab it out of thin air.
I gotta look it up. It's gonna bug me. Let's see. Maybe I'm gonna say 2000. It's got to be 2000, like 13, 14, 21. Geez, they were good. 21-4 that year. Callie Ford, yeah, she has to be up there in the record books for scoring. Because she was phenomenal.
Got to check on those records to see for sure.
I'll reach out to Coach Matizzi. Maybe he can get me some official record book numbers, and we'll see how close Tracy Mullen is going to be to getting it and how much she still needs to do. If it's something like South Range's record book, then she's got a lot of work to do. Or even better than South Range, if it's something like Crestview's, a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of these schools that have some stellar athletes that have come through it. But, I mean, to hold your school's all-time scorer accolade, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, perfect example too. I mean, just for a bigger school, but Todd Simon's doing it last year for Fitch. Like, there's only 3 guys that ever cracked 1,000 points in Fitch history, because you just don't start as a freshman at Fitch just because of the size of the school. So
That's true.
that, I mean, having that accolade, and an accolade that all-time scorer, that record hasn't been broken in 60 years. I mean, that was incredible. With the fact that we saw what Jackie Grisdale do it as well. That's incredible. There's so many all-time leading scorers that we're seeing happen at these schools at modern time. It just shows how good these basketball athletes have gotten in
I gotta imagine. I mean, I know all of his points weren't for Heartland Christian, but I gotta imagine John Berdovich is somewhere in that Heartland Christian record book.
He has to be, you would think. I mean, he's put up already records elsewhere as well. I mean, Columbiana County.
We got some breakfast plans.
Sal Volcano and Joe Gatto, both 2 of the 4 Practical Jokers already in on it.
That's what you writing paragraphs, Sal? Making Anthony read. That's what they're doing.
Hashtag Springfield. Ball is life. Ballers.
Ballers.
You didn't even throw the Z at the end of ballers. What are you doing?
But Creshu's all-time record is in the 2000s. So is Ursuline's, because Deschanette Harris is
a dog.
Of nature.
I mean, unstoppable.
Really, I mean, we went. She's a junior at Pitt right now, and Deschanette Harris is the fastest player in Pitt women's basketball history to get to 700 points, 500 assists, and I'm gonna look it up right now just so we have the. I want to be exact today. I'm taking time to be exact for this, but since we brought it up, I want to get it out there. But incredible as a junior at Pitt to make the impact. So fastest player in Pitt women's basketball history to get to 700 points, 250 rebounds, and 175 assists.
That's incredible. I mean, that's all around effort every night on the basketball court.
She's played in 60 games at Pitt, and she's probably going to be an 1,000-point scorer at Pitt.
And she's what?
Add on to her 2,000-point score.
At 60 games, how many points has she scored? 750?
I don't know what her exact number, but she was the fastest girl to get to 750. So she's at least at 750.
I mean, that's 12 and a half points per game.
700 points at least. 250 rebounds, 175 assists.
That's averaging 3 rebounds a game. That's averaging 4.2 assists. And that's averaging – oh, wait. Hold on. I messed that up bad. There we go. That's averaging 2.9 assists and then having 250.
And that's also that's in the ACC, where you're going up against 6 top 25 teams in the country.
Exactly. And I mean, averaging 12, about 3 and 4. That's pretty incredible.
So she's going to be a 2,000-point scorer in college, and a 2,000-point scorer in high school, and then a 1,000-point scorer in college.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Over 3,000 career points in her basketball career.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
The only thing left to do is go to the WNBA and score even more.
That might happen too. I mean,
it might happen. I'm just saying, she's putting the world on fire. We might see a WNBA player from good old Ursuline High School, and we could say that she was on YSN. I've called one of her games.
That's incredible to say you've done that too.
That'd be cool. That would be cool.
Anthony, add that to his checklist. Call it a WNBA player. Check.
Let's continue our recaps from last night, as we got kind of sidetracked there somehow, some way. You were in Austintown, Fitch, as the Falcons got a long-awaited win over Boardman. Do you know when the last time they beat Boardman by chance was? Because I know it wasn't last game.
I mean, I think let me double check on this, but I gotta feel like it's been since the Sabria Hunter days. It's been a few years since it last happened. I think, I don't want to say for sure, but let me double check.
We're doing a lot of fact checking today on Running Point. That's going to be the theme of today's show.
But to just talk about this as I'm checking, I mean, this was an incredible game throughout, as all these AAC games are. But it was just good for Fitch, too, a team that didn't win any conference games last year, to come out and get their second of the season after the last few years, too, of getting kind of beat on by a lot of these schools. The Hardings of the world were really good. So was Boardman, and to own a win over both of them this season is just great growth for the program that now has 11 wins on the season.
Yeah, final score was 54-48, by the way. Zeta Creeky had 17. Ayla Ray, what did she finish with?
21.
20. I thought so. I just didn't want to.
Zeta Creeky, too, unofficially right now, we're waiting for the official word, we think has the all-time three-point record. Not all-time, excuse me, season three-point record. It was 56 in a season prior, and I think her number's at 58. Unofficially, we're waiting to get official word.
She got that last night. If she did,
she got a few threes last night. I think her season total right now is 58, and we believe the previous record was 56.
She's got games to go.
Absolutely. I mean, she's got a whole nother season in front of her next year, and then this one in front of her this year.
Are we waiting for confirmation on her or the season record? Like, is that what we're waiting on to make sure the season record was exactly 56?
It was because I think at first they thought it might have been 54, and then they checked again, and then they said it might be 56. So they're gonna double check. Last time Fitch girls basketball
Coach Jeff Collins.
There he is. There he is. It was January 15th of 2020.
Okay,
so they lost. Yeah, so I mean, it's been a couple years since.
That's not last season, but the season before.
Yep, that first matchup they beat Boardman 60-56, and
also then a 4-point victory. This one was a 6-point victory. So,
and then Boardman rattled off, I think, 3 straight, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they played a tournament game, but let me double check. It was a 4-point win for Boardman on the first of that year too, 50-46. That's what I said. These two teams throw records out the window. They always match up really well. It's always great. Before I go into the rest of this game, though, Mackenzie Riccatelli was a problem too. And you want to talk about just young players inside this both these teams. Cami Goski's one that she's a force down low in the paint. She grabs a bunch of rebounds. She's so good at establishing position. And then Mackenzie Riccatelli just bops with everybody. And I mean, her dribbling ability is incredible. I mean, the fact that she was able to dribble through so many traps last night, unafraid to go to the bucket, and wasn't having the best scoring night, but then down the stretch in that fourth quarter, hits 2 monster threes that keeps Boardman in the game. I mean, ice all around her veins right now, man. I mean, and only a sophomore. It's going to be exciting in that AAC because right now it's Canfield and Howland that are kind of senior-led, but Harding's young, Fitch is young, Boardman's young. We know Howland and Canfield always have good athletes. This is going to be a fun conference the next couple of years.
And remember, when we talked to Coach Green, it feels like forever ago now. It was probably only 3 or 4 weeks ago, but we talked to him, and he said, last year was his first year, but it was also that crazy COVID season where they were navigating so much. Building the culture wasn't even first on the list. It was just
you're trying to do that now this year,
trying to get games. So really, I mean, he called the year 0, and then this is year 1. So he's starting to kind of build his culture, build his standard with those girls at Boardman as well.
By the time these girls are juniors and seniors, you're going to start seeing that culture be well established, I think, and you're going to start seeing these girls really start to buy in. I think he's doing a great job over there, and I think the record's pretty deceiving for Boardman's side of things because they're competitive. They really are.
And they play in a tough conference like Fitch does too.
Absolutely.
I mean, they have to go up against Howland, Canfield, Boardman, Fitch.
It is literally baptized by fire. You have to put a good team on the court when you play inside those conference games because all 5 of those schools are absolutely incredible as far as basketball. They always have at least a competitive team, it feels like, that's on the court.
You had a chance to catch up with head coach Jeff Wilson and the player of the game, Ayla Ray. Let's hear what they had to say in their post-game press conferences.
Welcome back, everybody. Second time in 2 days now with Coach Jeff Wilson as part of a 54-48 close winner over AAC rival Boardman and the Lady Spartans. And Coach, I mean, talking about that, it was close from quarter one to quarter four. Good team victory overall, though.
Yeah, multiple girls scoring the basketball. We talked multiple times. Zeta's usually going to get her points, but when you have Ayla step up and Kara and a couple others, that's just such a plus, and very proud of them.
Talking about Ayla, too, she's our player of the game. And, I mean, before coming into this game, Ayla's leading the team in rebounding and in assist and steals per game. Had 13 rebounds just last night, but tonight, 21 points overall in the scoring. What does it mean that to have that player that is so present in so many different areas in the box score, but can also score on any given night when you need her to?
Absolutely. Throughout the year, Ayla's become way more confident scoring the basketball. And you're right, she does lead us in all those categories. And the 13 rebounds last night was a huge part of that victory. Tonight, she attacked so well. She did well in our diamond press, hitting some threes, and really, she deserves player of the game. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer.
When you have so many players, I mean, you had Kara Perrone, Zeta Creaky, Ayla down the stretch too, making big three-pointers in that fourth quarter. Yesterday, you and I talked about telling the girls to shoot more often and just being confident in their shot. How did that look tonight on this end of things, and how proud are you that so many girls are stepping up and willing to take those shots now in crunch time?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. You got to shoot with confidence. I mean, if you're open, shoot the ball. I mean, that's – it's I know I got on Kara's case. Her parents won't mind. I yelled at her to shoot the ball. It's like, come on, Kara. I said you hit 3 threes last night. Shoot it. You're fine. You could hit threes, and Ayla and Zeta the same way. And I told him I'm not sure how many threes we made. We made 7 last night, but it had to be pretty darn close or more than that tonight. And that's just such a weapon. I when I looked at the clock up there, it looked like we were up 8, and then right away, like within a minute, we were up 16.
Talking about defense again, I mean, you said about these defensive games, not your favorite to get into, but it was another defensive battle from quarter 1 to 4. 2 games in a row now, though. How proud are you of the defense at this point in the season, especially right before tournament time?
Very proud. We preach defense. The one thing we could have done a little better tonight is box out. I told him I'm going to pick the film apart and see how many points we gave up on second, third, 4 chances. But yeah, defensively, especially the first quarter, only giving up 14 points. You're not going to lose games doing that. And we gave up a lot more in the second half, but that was the flow of the game, and we made up for it on the offensive end as well.
Final question for you, Coach. Another win inside the AAC. You have 2 now on the year. You'll go to a team you beat earlier in the season in Warren Harding on Saturday. Of course, we know tough to beat a team twice, though. What's kind of the game plan as you get a little bit of time off before the next one?
Yeah, I'll enjoy this for 10 minutes, and I'm going to put our bio in for seeding for the tournament, and then I told the wife I'll be watching Harding film. The Powell girl's very good. She scores 13, 14 points a game. They have another couple girls that could hit shots, and we got to go ready to go. My favorite line to them is "Let's go." And we got to go, and we got to get ready. And Frank Caputo's a great coach, and he'll have them ready.
As the Lady Falcons now 11-7 on the year, Coach Jeff Wilson after the 54-48 victory over the rival Lady Spartans of Boardman. Thank you so much, Coach.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone, as I am here now with player of the game, Ayla Ray, as part of a 54-48 victory for the Austintown Fitch Lady Falcons. Ayla, 21 points tonight after 13 rebounds the night prior. You were very heavily featured in the box score. Talk about just your confidence shooting the ball tonight and what this game meant to you going into it.
Well, Boardman's been our rivalry for a while now, and we just came in the game and we had that confidence. We had that spark to beat them because of the years before, and we just came out and we kept going and pulled out the victory.
Looking at this, you played a lot of significant time your freshman year, and of course you played that AAU too. You played in the offseason before going into the season. How much do you think all those experiences helped you going into the season and really helped you be successful in so many areas of the game?
It just helped bring up my confidence and helped my skill work, and I got to learn the varsity part of the game more and helped me work with the players better.
Talking about that team last year, too, I asked Zeta this last night. You guys were a 5-win team last year. You've already doubled that now. You're at 11 wins on the season. What does that mean to you, just being already in your second year with the program, to see that kind of growth from year 1 to year 2?
Well, my teammates, we work really well together, and we have great connections, and we just know when each other are open, and we have really good spark together.
I could definitely see that on the court. Ayla, final question for you. I mean, just talk to me a little bit. In 2 short years with Fitch, I mean, you play on the softball field as well, so we know you're heavily featured in that. What has this community and this school meant to you in your first couple years of high school?
It's just a really nice environment. Everyone's nice. There's good people around here. The connections are just great.
As Ayla Ray, the 2 sports star, shines bright on the hardwood tonight. 21 points as part of the Austintown Lady Falcons 54-48 victory. Ayla, thank you so much.
So that was Fitch head coach Jeff Wilson and Ayla Ray both talking to you, Mr. Ty Bartell, after their win over Boardman. And like we said, the first win over Boardman in over a season.
Yeah, and it's the first win for this particular group.
First win over Fitch. Yeah, first win for Fitch. I don't know if I said for Fitch or for Boardman or over Boardman. I can't.
First win for Fitch for this group of particular girls too, and it's good for them to, like Coach Wilson said a couple days ago, get that respect from teams inside the conference too. I mean, to say you've already beaten 2 out of the 4 teams that you could compete with in the conference is big. Obviously, you're going to have to wait till next year to get a shot at Canfield again. But, I mean, you still have another opportunity with Howland, too, to show your stuff, too. And Howland's been a hot team. So these are good measuring stick games, too, to see where they are. And right now, it looks like Fitch is kind of dead set in the middle of that conference. It's kind of like number 3 pitch and hold there.
Lisbon boys get the win over Valley Christian, 49-38. Big win for them.
Nice win for Lisbon, too.
You look at the scores for Lisbon.
What's that EOAC boys side looking like now? That Lisbon wins over Wellsville, a win over Valley. Columbiana beat them, though. Those EOAC standings, I got to check that out real quick now, because I feel like
Trevor Sifke led the Blue Devils with 22 points.
We've heard that name a lot before, haven't we?
Hunter Daly had 12. And rounding out the scoring for Lisbon was Tate Walden, who had 7. Then you'll look at Valley Christian. They were led with 11 points from Jordan Peele. And that's not is Jordan Peele. It's not the Jordan Peele, but you know.
Not that one.
Not that one. Not the movie director / comedy writer.
United leads at 7-2, Wellsville 6-2, Columbiana 6-2, Valley 6-3, and Lisbon 5-4.
So
but
that loss by Valley was big because they were right there with all these 2 lost teams.
Let's see what else is on Lisbon's schedule is what I'm curious about, because Lisbon, all these other teams are 2 and 3 lost teams, and if they play them, you could jump them. Then I mean, and all these teams have kind of been beating up on each other.
I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that East Palestine game because they obviously stopped it with like a minute and a half to go in the 4th.
Yeah.
So they have to either finish that one or I don't know what they're going to do with it. If they're just going to say, hey, we're going to I think it'd be silly to
get a matchup still with Wellsville and United, though. So that's big to have both of those.
Because last year, I mean, the protocol that we've only seen this kind of thing happen where an injury is so bad it has to stop the game. But last year, when it happened at South Range, Poland, it happened like so early in the game that it was no big deal just to restart the game.
Yeah, like
late in the 4th quarter. I don't know if you get those 2 teams together to say, hey, let's finish the last minute and change, or if you just say Lisbon won, or I don't know what's going to happen with that.
I don't know what's going to happen with that either. That's going to be definitely interesting to see how they handle that.
I'll ask Quinn.
Yeah, Quinn will know. I mean, it would take some work, but I mean, Lisbon, who knows? And the other thing I need to check too, because you got to match up with United and Wellsville. Obviously, you win those ones. you're looking pretty, but does Wellsville play United one more time? Because if Wellsville has to play United, this EOAC is still a scrap for who's even going to come out on first. Checking real quick at the Tigers schedule. Let's see. Oh man, they got the game with United on Friday. So that's coming up this week. That's big. That's a huge game. That's another one of those games that could very well mean who takes the EOAC, because both these teams coming in with 2 losses. I believe now the only 2 lost teams inside that EOAC on the boys' side of things. No, Columbiana also.
I was going to say there was 3 of them. Columbiana was there.
Yeah, Columbiana's still. Wow, this EOAC is really fun, though. This is getting really interesting towards the end of the season. And Wellsville has a home matchup with Columbiana on February 10th. So all these teams are still going to be beating up on each other. Who knows who's coming out on top of this one?
And remember, that big loss for Wellsville was at Lisbon. They lost to Lisbon.
And that's a huge win for Lisbon, and it's keeping Lisbon somewhat in these standings right now.
If that loss doesn't happen, then Wellsville's sitting alone in the first place.
And Wellsville, I mean, wow. I mean, they got a matchup with United on Friday. They got a February 10th matchup with Columbiana. Those 2 games are going to be so important. And if one beats one and one beats the other, we could be looking at a bunch of 3 lost teams for the EOAC. And then Valley's still there. Lisbon's still there. This conference is looking great, though, for the end of it. I don't know who's coming out on top.
It's like the EBC on the girls' side. I mean, you're sitting there, you have a very real possibility of a 3-way tie at the end of the season.
It's incredible, too.
What do you do with that?
These conferences are so close.
What do you do with that? Do you just say all the teams share it, or do you go to a 3-way tie break? I don't know what the EBC's protocol is, but if West Branch beats Marlington in that last game of the season,
MVAC Scarlet tier and the girls' side is pretty interesting. On the gray side, it's very interesting now.
Interesting on the gray side, because Liberty still has the lead, but they still have to play Garfield again. They still have to play Champion again.
So I mean, there's some big games coming up on that one. NE8, obviously, South Range and Poland are still in a dogfight for it.
Brookfield still got Champion twice on their schedule.
That's a good point too. And then you look on the boys' side too. I mean, obviously on the Scarlet side, it's kind of determined that Springfield's dominating that one. Lowville might have something to say.
There's still a second matchup with that too.
That gray side, you think it's Camel Memorial, but
they have a second matchup with Liberty. Remember that game was a 2-point game.
Liberty's is going to have something to say, you think, as well. So,
and I can't remember if that first game was at Camel or at Liberty.
Let's just put it this way: there's not a single conference we have where one team I think is the clear determined, like this is going to be the winner. Like Springfield's probably the most heavy favorite, but Lowville is still looming right there, and they could throw a wrench in this whole thing.
What about, I think Alliance in the EBC is still undefeated for the boys' side.
Alliance is
in the league. They have lost outside the league, but I think they're undefeated in the EBC.
I saw Alliance, I think, last season, and they had a bunch of young guys, and they looked stellar then because they came to Fitch last season. So I can't imagine with all these guys going to some of them AAU camps and getting that much better. They're probably so fun to watch this season.
And the AAC on the boys' side still up in the air.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Boardman beat Fitch. Fitch has beaten Canfield. Hallen's beaten Fitch now too. I mean, all these teams, and then Harding all of a sudden now is lighting the world on fire again. So that whole conference is wide open. I mean, right now too, Hallen and Canfield are in a dogfight on the girls' side.
Right, they have to play each other again, and that was a 2-point game.
That was a fantastic game. So that
advantage Hallen, because the next game is going to be in the Tigers' den with good old Fat Paw. Good old Fat Paw.
Hallen's that's their only loss in the conference, I believe.
Yes.
And Canfield's undefeated currently.
Well,
conference-wise.
What do you find? You're other way around. Hallen beat Canfield.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Hallen's
undefeated.
Canfield's only got the one loss in the conference. That's going to be interesting. Lady Cards could have something to say. Tie up and have a tie, but Howland wins that one. You got to figure they're sole AAC champs of the season.
When's that second matchup?
That's a great question.
I'm gonna go look that up.
Noah Rick's probably going to have the call on that one if it's on Howland. That'll be a great.
Yeah, it's definitely in Howland because the first game was at Canfield. Looking at the schedule for Canfield, that Howland matchup is going to be Saturday, February 5th
Oh wow, that's a fantastic matchup.
at 2:30.
It's right around the corner too.
Yeah, that's a week from Saturday, right?
That's yeah. Oh wow, that's gonna be fun too. They make a pit stop at Fitch too on the 2nd. I'll get to see the Lady Tigers for my first time this season. But if Noah Ricks is on that call, that'll be a great game for him.
A lot of things going to be decided here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're going to figure a lot of things out. We're going to figure tournaments out too. Oh my goodness, this is going to be.
I can't wait for Monday's show because we'll have a bracket. And what I was going to propose to you yesterday, and I want to get to the recaps first, and then we'll get to that real quick. So I want to get to the recaps. The final recaps from last night. Ursuline beat Cheney 53-23. That was a big Steel Valley win for them. Mooney got into a dog fight, or I should say a bear fight with East. A lot closer than probably people expected, but 40-34, Mooney gets the win.
Put respect on Coach Tanisha Franklin and these Lady Bears name because you know what? They've been competitive in a lot of games this season. She's doing a great job building that program back up. This looks like a very different East girls team than what we saw last year. They're getting things figured out, and watch out for them, I think, for the seasons to come.
South Range learned the tough lesson that one bad quarter can really put a damper on your game. As Alliance outscored them 15-3 in the third, and they went on to win 47-32 over South Range in a non-conference matchup last night, girls basketball.
Lions girls has some pretty impressive wins to their name now because I think they also beat Waterloo in the very first game of Waterloo's season.
Waterloo's only lost. That's why Waterloo's on a 12-game winning streak. Their only lost game in the first game of the season to Alliance.
And that's what I'm saying is that anyone can beat anybody, but this Alliance girls team is much improved. I think that's their 7th win of the season now after the one against South Range. And they've played a tough schedule. They play in a tough conference. And they have some notable wins under their belt outside of that conference.
And we've said it too. I mean, that was the first conference win for Alliance, and I believe at least 3 seasons that they got this year in the EBC. So it definitely much improved Alliance program. And they already, I think they had 3 wins last year. So they've already more than doubled their win total from last season.
They look real good. They do.
I'm looking, just trying to get this Jefferson South Range score. I know Jefferson beat the Raiders last night in boys basketball. But
11. Check.
Oh, yeah. I gave you that one.
He was like, I'm rocking my alums flag going down with the ship.
Really going down with the Raider ship.
And I was flying high with the Falcons above sea level.
The score there was 65-46. Jefferson rolls over South Range. Warren JFK beat Bristol 70-48.
That's another one.
And then you had United beating losing to Southern Local, 50-48. So that's an EOAC loss for United too.
That's
an
updated one.
If that's an updated record that you had when you had they were 2 losses, was that updated? With their loss to Southern?
I believe so, yeah. I think so. I could double check though. But I was also checking real quick. Yep, that's what I thought it was. This NE8 is you got 1 loss Poland, 1 loss Struthers, and now 2 loss Jefferson. I mean, NE8 on the boys' side is also very interesting right now.
I think there's a gap though because when Poland and Struthers both played Jefferson, it really wasn't all that competitive. Struthers won by like 7 or 8, and Poland ran away with the game.
Jefferson is the clear number 3 though, with notable wins over everyone else right now in the NE8. So We'll have to see. Second matchups are always interesting, and I think that Jefferson still has to play Poland and Struthers once.
Speaking of the second matchups, I think Struthers in Poland is Friday.
That's
Tomorrow, I
another
should say.
great matchup on Friday. There are so many great matchups coming up this week, and Friday we've already named, two that are coming up. You have United Wellsville on Friday. That's going to be so big in the EOAC, and now you got Poland Struthers, if that's the case. Let me double check. But I think you're right, Anthony. I think it is Friday. They have a matchup with Poland. Yep, it is at 7 p.m. at Poland too.
All right, we are going to.
Towns are going to be rocking.
They're going to be rocking.
It's tomorrow.
We have to take our first break of the day, pay some bills, and show some love to our sponsors. We'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the four words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig, joined by Ty Bartell. As always, Ty, this is what I was going to propose when the brackets come out, since we're doing our picks and we're keeping track of our points. And yeah, you're up by 11. I get it. What do you want? I mean, I think what would be fun. Brackets come out and we do we fill out the bracket. Right, we fill out each bracket for each division, see if we can guess it. But obviously, that wouldn't go into our season total because we have to pick the games as they happen, even if we get them wrong. So, do you want to fill out a bracket and do picks as they
want to do another challenge, just something else to try to beat me in?
You gotta beat you in something, right?
We'll do the bracket challenge at first, and then but we'll pick as they actually go along, because obviously we're not going to be perfect in our brackets. So.
Maybe I will. Who knows?
If you get a perfect bracket all the way to state, if we make it to state,
we do it all the way to state. I don't think
if you pick a perfect bracket for our YSN teams, I'll give you the whole win in the season too. If it is a perfect bracket.
Can you imagine if we did the bracket like the whole division?
If you did that, yeah, you win the entire basketball season. Then
I'd be completely guessing for the southwest region of
you're not going to be up to date with everything in the Cincinnati area.
Here's Lakota West versus Midland, and I think that Lakota West is going to win. At least I pulled out real schools from the Cincinnati area. So,
He's like, at least I pulled those up.
At least I know teams that are in that region, and I wasn't just making up names. That's a plus. Some other scores from the area last night as we go through some scores of YSN teams that were on the road against non-YSN teams. On the girls' side, we have – hold on. I just lost it. There it is. We have Newton Falls. They lost to Champion 52-25. Wellsville beat Sebring 44-40, which means Wellsville has their fourth program win this year, which is more than that program has had since 2015. So congratulations to the Tigers and Coach Kramer for putting those wins together and building up the program and taking the next step as a program over there in Wellsville. Howland beat Warren Harding 52-20. Minerva beat Beaver Local 60-48. And Lisbon traveled to Toronto and won 38-31.
Scores from around the area and some big ones for sure. The programs that are building up and programs that are built trying to stay in position. A lot of great games coming up too. And oh my goodness, conference play is still so many big games and conferences that have to happen yet.
A couple more. LeBray beat Camel 53-27. Mogador beat Warren JFK 60-40 last night. On the boys' side, Warren JFK beat Bristol 70-48. And I think that's the only one that we missed on our first half an hour without a break. So those are your final scores from last night, Ty. And I can't wait for tournament time. We're going to have brackets on Sunday. We'll have a bracket show on Monday.
Oh my goodness. I cannot wait until we do all these divisional brackets.
maybe we'll try to get the coaches of the 1 seeds into the show.
Yeah, that would be fun too. I mean, just to talk about with some of these coaches ahead of these matchups, because I mean, you get to know a couple weeks in advance, which is pretty fun.
It's kind of awkward because it's like the last 2 weeks of the season, it's like they have no effect on your actual placement in the tournament. They're just simply and totally, unless you're playing for a league title, to get prepared for tournament, because now you know exactly who you're playing, and it's hard not to look ahead when you know.
I wish they would do that later.
No matter what you do, I'm playing this team in the tournament.
I wish they'd do it later in the season as well. I wish like there'd only be like one game after, like you get a one tune-up game before the tournament, like one final game maybe. Maybe there's a conference title on the line in that one final game, so it's not like as long of a period of, you don't want to say meaningless games, because a lot of conferences are still on the line. You're still playing for conference play in a lot of them, but in this case, yeah, it doesn't help you in tournament placing, and that it's kind of awkward. You are right on that fact.
It's really awkward. We go into our next segment of Running Point, and I know yesterday we just very, very quickly gave you what the districts are going to look like in girls basketball for D1 through D4, and we kind of just said the names because we were running out of time, but I kind of want to deep dive into these districts and the teams that are in it, and try to kind of figure out who's going to be seated where, who we think is going to be seated where. And since Thursday's girls basketball day, I figured it's a perfect day to do it.
Yeah, might as well.
I need to pull up these districts again real quick. All right, it's not loading. So,
well, there goes that.
Hold on to that thought. We'll go from that. We'll do our picks and try to come back to that. Let's go to the Twitter poll on Running Point. You can pick along with us on Twitter. The handle is @RunningPointYSN. We would love to hear who you think is going to win these matchups. And we go first to what I think is the marquee matchup of the night. Liberty hosting Garfield, and this one has 14 votes on the poll. Liberty has 67% of it, 33% going to Garfield. Ty, this is a big game. Before we pick it, let's just dive into it, man.
Sure. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the contrast of styles between Liberty's running gun and Garfield's kind of slow, methodical, slow the game down approach. I mean, Gilbert said it when we had him on Tuesday. We want this game to get into the 50s, maybe low 60s. We cannot let it get above 65 if we want a good chance to win.
Let's pull up some stats that'll be interesting.
I think the most impressive stat for Garfield is that they have 5 players that are averaging 2 assists per game.
I mean, that's just sharing the wealth. Absolutely, it's sharing the wealth.
And I believe it's their 5 starters, too.
And when you're able to do that, we know there's a lot of success that usually comes with it, as Garfield 10-5 on the season, Liberty coming in 14-1. Let me get these team stats pulled up because those are the ones I'm always really interested in. We'll dive into a little bit of the personal stats in a second. But the Liberty Lady Leopards, let's see. I just want to see. Stats, but that's what I want to look at. All right, there we go. Well, I don't know why that's not working, so let me look at this real quick. Okay. So the scoring leaders here for both teams, pretty much, yeah, you got 4 for Garfield. You obviously have Jenna Smith. That's 19.3 points per. Demi Watson is 19.2 points per. So, I mean, those two are really.
And the first time they matched up, I believe Jenna Smith had 26 and Demi Watson had 33. So it was this.
The
one of those ones where,
leaders, though.
you usually say if one of your players scores 26 points, you have a good chance to win the game. You just don't count on the other player on another team scoring 33 to match it.
And I mean, Smith's also averaging 11.3 rebounds a game. That's absolutely
Should we just
incredible.
talk about how hard it is to average a double-double?
It's absolutely hard. I mean, it doesn't happen often. And to see a team be able to do that. Here, let me pull up. Now I got these stats able to get up. But also, I mean, Sienna Smith is one that's averaging 7. Here's the biggest thing, though, looking at Liberty and what's really impressive for me. All 3 of their big 3 averages 7 or more rebounds and 15 or more points. Sienna Smith is averaging 15.2 and 7.5. Aaliyah Foster 17 and 7, and Demi Watson 19.2 and 7.2.
And you take all that, but you wonder with those numbers why they struggled so much to rebound against Brookfield in both the matchups.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good point as well.
Brookfield really dominated the rebound margin, even in the game that Brookfield lost.
The big thing too with Liberty, Garfield has those 5 starters with 2 or more assists. Liberty, mostly the ball goes through 2, and Sienna Smith and Demi Watson. Watson averaging 4.5 assists, Smith averaging 4.8 per. So, I mean, the ball's getting filled. Those are the 2 motors. I mean, it does help when you have 2 really talented guards as well. So I feel like it's going to balance out. But here are the straight up stats of both teams. Garfield averaging 50.7 per game, 64.8 for Liberty. On the other side, for rebounds a game, it is 31.3 for Liberty, 30.5 for Garfield. So that's the thing, because Brookfield was averaging, I think, 43 per game. So that was the heavy difference. And I think that led a lot to Liberty's loss in that one. And we could look back at those stats too, because that's a game I want to check. But I think that rebounding number, with how close both of them are, who's going to shine the brightest? You got 3 girls in Liberty that average over 7. And Garfield, obviously, Jenna Smith averages 11.3. That's a big number. Another one, though, Caitlin Lutz averages 5.5 rebounds per game, so that's a big one too. The senior over there, and Madeline Shirky averages 4.4 rebounds per game. So I mean, those are your big rebounding numbers, and I think that's going to be huge for both of those teams. Who wins that rebounding battle might win the entire game, honestly.
And this was a Garfield team that had a lead in the 4th quarter over Liberty their first time up. Coach Gilbert has said many times he expected to win that game. He thought that they had chances to win that game. And I think the whole team feels like they let Liberty slip through the fingers a little bit. So this is going to be interesting to see this team that has stopped giving up 4th quarter leads ever since that loss to Fort Fry. They've learned to finish games. Can they finish if they get a lead this time in the 4th? Because he said it and everyone knows Liberty is a team that can score like this in bunches. So if they have a 4th quarter lead, can they hold on to it?
That's going to be interesting. And literally less than a rebound separates these 2 teams. It's the same thing with assists. 14.5 for Liberty as a team, 14.7 for Garfield as a team. So even in the way that they can move the ball and distribute the ball as well. That's really impressive for the Lady Leopards, as well as they have also Parker that averages over 2 assists. They got 3 players averaging 2 or more assists, and 2 of them are averaging over 4. So a little bit more production through 2, but I mean, they can still move the ball pretty well. Both teams can, and that's what's going to be so fun with this matchup as well.
I think when you watch Garfield on tape, the one thing you realize when you're doing their offense is, yes, 5 players average 2 assists, but it really, most of their offensive sets, especially the half court, run through Jenna Smith in the high post. So you got to stop her. I think if I was game planning against Garfield, I would say we have to protect her from catching it in the high post, because unlike most players, most players that get put in the high post, really their only job is to pass it back out of there. Jenna Smith is one of the unique players at this level that can catch it at the high post, turn around, face you up, and make a move from the high post and really get to the hoop. So you have to respect that. But then you also have to respect her ability to find the skip pass or find the corner or drive in the corner, things like that. So I think when they get her the ball in the high post, really good things happen. So Liberty has to protect against that. and I would expect to probably see, tight man-to-man defense, maybe a little bit of zone. Who knows? But Liberty likes to play pretty aggressive man defense. So can they stay out of foul trouble?
The big thing too, the only lopsided really number straight up comparison wise, steals per game, Liberty averaging 13.5, Garfield 9.1. Now the out of conference schedule might have something to do with that too, and the level of competition both teams played. So I don't want to look too deep into that stat, but as of right now, that is a pretty lopsided stats, over 4 steals a game average between the team of Liberty over Garfield. So that could have a factor on the game too, as Liberty does have a good defense that creates a lot of turnovers.
Well, yeah, and those steals are live ball turnovers, which is the one thing you really want to avoid against Liberty, because their offense is good enough. You don't want to give them easy baskets with fast break layups.
You got to look at steals as points scored for Liberty. That's how devastating they are once they are able to secure them. I mean, if they're able to secure a ball, live ball on you, you almost got to think of it as 2. So protect the ball needs to be absolutely the motto going into this one, because if you don't, they're going to make you pay.
Okay, Ty, without further ado, it is your first pick. You got it's your choice what you want to do with this pick, I should say, because you got the win last night. Do you want to defer or do you want to take it?
I want to defer because I want to see what you pick on this one.
For your reference, the fan vote has Liberty with 62% and Garfield with 38%.
I want to see where you go on this one, because I want to see where your head is and see if it's similar to mine.
This is hard because
this is very tough, and I've gone back and forth with this, thinking about it, just looking at these stats. I mean,
if the last game that I saw Liberty in was Brookfield, I would pick Garfield in a heartbeat. But we saw Liberty kind of shake off that Brookfield loss and beat a very good 12-win Bristol team, 72-37 on Saturday. So obviously that loss is not sticking with Liberty one bit, which is such a maturity from last year, because this Liberty team last year, and Coach Watson has said it, last year's Liberty team was really prone to getting into the valleys when things would go wrong. So to bounce back with a win like that against a really quality Bristol team, it was impressive. It impressed me a lot. But Garfield, they should have won the first matchup. It was in Garfield. Now it's in Liberty.
That's another factor too. That's hard to pick. But we've seen chaos and pandemonium all the time too, where these road teams are the ones coming out with big wins in conference this year. So it's like, does home court advantage play as big of a role to these teams anymore?
I got a gut feeling. I got to go with it. I'm going to pick Garfield on the road to get the win.
That's where my gut was telling me at first too. Do I want to split with you for the sake that it's just Liberty at home? Because I was made up in my mind Garfield, and I wanted to see if you were going to ride with the Liberty train. This one's such a splittable game too. Garfield has a little bit more experience down the stretch. I like what Coach Watson's doing. You took my pick, but I'm going to split with you on this one just because it's Liberty at home. Give me the Lady Leopards.
All right. That's the benefit of deferring, right?
Yeah. You took what I would have picked, but I got to split with you on this one. It's too much of a splittable game. I can't not take.
That is why we put the marquee game at the top. So that first game you have to pick, it's an advantage to make the other person do it. So, I just have this.
My gut set Garfield as well.
Sneaky suspicion that Garfield's a different team than the first.
They are. They absolutely are. There's no doubt in my mind they are.
That loss to Fort Fry put them at 3-5, and they've won 7 in a row since, and they've looked like a completely different team.
This one's anybody's ball game. My gut initially said what yours did, but I can't have Liberty without a pick on this, especially being at home. I just
have to point out, if Liberty loses, Donnie Riccatelli's going to lose his mind, and they're probably going to be off the power rankings.
Yeah.
Jackson Milton goes to McDonald. The Blue Jays have 83% of the fan vote right now. McDonald beat them the first time around in Jackson Milton. Can the Blue Jays return the favor and win on the road? This is a McDonald team that beat Western Reserve as well over the weekend. Ty, this one's hard to kind of judge too.
It's very hard to judge, but if I'm not mistaken, Carla Blancafort was missing in that last matchup.
She was not on the floor.
And that's a big factor. You got a chance to talk with her. I like what this McDonald team's doing. I like what Coach Matizzi's doing over there with this McDonald team. I think getting some big conference wins on the season. Lucia Walford's definitely a girl not to be messed with. But I just think with Blancafort on the court, they only have 7 over there. But when they're all clicking and they're all healthy, those 7 are pretty darn good in Jackson Milton. I'm going to go with the Lady Blue Jays on the road in this one.
Yeah, I think everyone in that program understands how much they need these games now. And
I mean, conference is on the line now. I mean, you got to keep pace with Waterloo.
Jackson Milton can't afford a loss because they still have Waterloo twice. They're the only team that is in position to control their own destiny in the MVAC outside of Waterloo.
Yeah,
because Springfield can't do it because they only play Waterloo once, and Western Reserve can't do it. So.
Yeah,
the only second place team that really controls their own destiny right now is Jackson Milton. So we'll see. I think Jackson Milton gets to win tonight. I'll take them as well. We go to stay in the MVAC Scarlet Tier. Lowville traveling to Springfield. The Tigers have 100% of the vote. They're not going to slow down. Big win for them last night. They're riding high off of JC Mullins, 1,000 points. I'll take the Tigers to win.
Yeah, I'll go with Springfield as well, but Lowville already proven that they could contend with some good teams too. When that 3-point shooting is on it can definitely keep them in a lot of ball games. But I think the Lady Tigers just have so many weapons. I'll go with Springfield.
We have Wyndham traveling to Bristol tonight. The Bombers, they have 33% of the vote. What do you think about this one, Ty? I'm going to pick. Is it your first pick or mine?
I think it's my first pick. Yeah.
Okay. Wyndham Bristol.
I'm going to go. Lady Bombers have really surprised me at points this season. They really have. But Bristol, I think coming off that loss to Liberty, they're going to be a little bit upset and they're going to have something to say too. And they got to get themselves right for the tournament. It's going to be a tough game for Wyndham. I think Bristol is 12-win team. I got to go with the Lady Bears up there. Because I think I don't know. I think just Bristol. Yeah, they are. They're 12 wins now too after that loss with Liberty. I gotta figure that they're gonna be upset about that one. So I gotta go.
Yeah, Bristol, I believe, is 12-3 now on the year. We'll go to the next game, which is Valley Christian traveling to Southern. My first pick. Ashley Schroeds, not lighting the world on fire like she did last year, but still a good score. I'll take Valley, though, on the road. I'll rock the banner. Bad guy. Don't put on that black hat. Don't do it.
Oh, now he's pleading. Please don't keep splitting with me and drive me further into the ground.
I'm just going to win the bracket challenge and call it a day.
You know, Ashley Schroeds was really good last year.
Oh, she had a 50-point performance last
year. I mean, that was incredible.
That's unheard of.
We talked about that too. I remember on, I think, of Power Hour last year when it happened. Valley's a good team. Southern's a good team. I'll split with you. It's a home game for Southern. I'll go Lady Indian.
The banner is displeased with you.
I'm sorry, Banner.
Badger goes to Puny Banner. I'll go to Badger. Will go to Fairport Harding tonight. It's your first pick, Badger at Fairport Harding. You're searching Fairport Harding's record.
I gotta check.
You can't just rock the banner and call it a day.
I'm thinking Badger though. I mean, my initial gut reaction said Badger, but Fairport Harding's not bad. They're not bad. That's just the thing is like That's not a bad basketball conference either, that Northeastern. Did they play them already, though? They did. I got to go Fairport Harding. I got to go Fairport Harding.
That makes me scared because that means that you looked at that score. And
I did.
probably told you a story.
It definitely told me enough of a story to pick the Lady Skippers.
The Skippers? Really?
Fairport Harding Skippers, I believe is what it said. You know, like a skipper of a ship.
Yeah, I know. I can't pick a team that's named after a character on Gilligan's Island. No, I can't. I'm not gonna. I'm scared. Fairport Harding. I have no idea what that score is, but I'll take Fairport Harding. What was the score?
59-47 at Badger.
Oh my gosh, it wasn't that bad.
Wasn't that bad. It was at Badger, though. This one's at Fairport Harding, so
we'll see. We'll see.
Look, keep it close. They're 8-7, I think, on the season. Fairport Harding 10-4. So
Lakeside will travel to East. This is my first pick. I'm gonna rock the banner. I'm gonna go with East.
Yeah, I'll go with East in this one as well. They impressed me a lot against Mooney.
They did. They only lost by 6, 40-34. And that was a big game for the Bears. We'll go to the next game, which is Columbiana at Latonia. The poll is split 50-50. But Ty, what side are you leaning? You will be the deciding vote in this poll. It's split right down the middle.
I'm clipper clapping away, man. Give me Columbiana.
Don't do my bit.
Go on, do your bit then. I didn't know if you were.
Yeah, I'll clipper clap with you. I think
Ella Gregorino has been a problem for some teams, and I think she'll have another good game. But I think Columbiana has just been so impressive in so many games this season.
Let's go to the next one. Jefferson traveling to Struthers. Struthers lost their 4-game winning streak against Canfield, but they still have a win streak in the league, and Jefferson has to travel into the field house. All that makes me want to lean towards Struthers, and in fact, I will lean towards Struthers.
Lady Wildcats in the field house. Don't need to say anything more. Coach Nieder's doing a great job. Lady Wildcats doing a great job. Struthers all day.
We go to the next one. It is Champion against Camel. Camel in action for the second straight night as they played last night against LeBray, trying to make up some of these league games. So they're going to be trying to shake off the rust a little bit. 53-27, they lost to LeBray last night. Right now, the fan vote, there's some belief in Camel because they have 25% of the vote. Champion has 75. It's my first pick, right?
What was the last one?
Last one was Jefferson at Struthers. No, I picked that one first.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I can't think Champion's gonna lose this conference game though. I can't feel like they got to keep pace too to try to win this conference from Liberty. They can't drop these ones. I got to go Champion in this.
Camel was up 14-6 after one quarter of play against LeBray, and watch that slip away. Unfortunately for them, it would have been a big road
You
win.
can see that growth happen though in Camel. They're getting better every single game.
I'll take Champion as well to win this one on the road and kind of keep pacing that wacky MVAC grade tier. South Range will try to bounce back from their out of conference loss, and they'll need this win to, that matchup didn't happen. So now South Range and Poland both have to take care of a couple of more business trips to make that matchup between them next Wednesday mean what they want it to mean. So South Range going to Hubbard. The Raiders have 83% of the fan vote. They won the first matchup in South Range. It is my first pick. I'll take the Raiders.
Yeah, give me the Lady Raiders. I mean, South Range and Poland have still proven to be kind of the tops of that NE8 right now. But Struthers has thrown a wrench into it. They're saying, don't forget about us. I know, but it's still South Range Poland. That's at the top. So I'm gonna go with Lady Raiders to keep pace.
What Struthers did is they said, "Hey, you guys can go play each other for the lead.
I think it was too for a young Struthers team. I think it was just throwing that wrench into the cog, saying, "Hey, we'll be back next year too. Don't forget about us. We're
They
here.
will be back next year because Nieder's back. I believe Stiletto's back.
There's a lot of good players back. So they threw that wrench and they said, "Hey,
I wish I was calling that
about
game.
us now."
I wish I would have called that game because I would have said Stellato with the stiletto dagger. It was perfect. Like I had it timed. I was like, "Oh, Stellato with the stiletto, bam, dagger 3." Oh, it's so perfect. But the Struthers crew does a great job, as Bob Zanny and his students do a great job running that broadcast, and they had a heck of a call for that game. We'll move on to the next pick. It is Mineral Ridge traveling to Western Reserve, and it is a 67% lead in the fan vote for the Blue Devils, and it is your first pick.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I picked South Range first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, let me go Lady Blue Devils in this one. I think Coach Miller's doing a good job getting them prepared for the tournament. I think they get another win.
Mineral Ridge having to play, like a lot of teams tonight, their second game in 2 days.
Yep.
With the snow on Monday, a lot of games got pushed to yesterday. So they're going to have either a back against the wall even more. I'll take Western Reserve as well. We go to the next one. It is United hosting East Palestine. There are 5 votes in this poll, and United has every single one of them, 100%. My first pick, I will take the Eagles to stay undefeated in the EOAC.
Flex on them, Eagles. Let me get United.
And remember when we talked about no one having a clear lead in the conference, we completely forgot about the United girls, who I believe.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that is.
They're undefeated, and I think the next team might have 2 losses.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, Waterloo technically has a decent sized lead, but I mean, they're only 1 loss back, I guess, technically. Well, no, 2 losses back of everyone, including Springfield. Springfield has that second loss.
Yeah, the only thing the caveat is they still have to play Jackson Milton twice.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's kind of keeping that one interesting. But yeah, well, I mean, when you schedule the way United girls have too, I mean, like Coach Blanche says, and I love that line, getting baptized by fire. I mean, that is exactly what United does with their schedule, and that's why they have so much success in their EOAC. I apologize for forgetting about those Lady Eagles. They are the ones that have been.
I did too. So we both take responsibility for that. They're under the radar. You know,
put some respect on United's name. I mean, their record against some very, very good teams too is impressive.
By the way, I'll take the Eagles to win tonight against East Palestine. Ty, what about you?
Yeah, I'm flexing with the Eagles. Give me United.
Gerard will travel to Poland. It is senior night for the Bulldogs, and they have 86% of the fan vote, like South Range. Same kind of story. They have to take care of some business if they want that matchup with the Raiders to mean, winner takes the lead in the NE8.
They're upset, still coming off a loss, needing a game. It's senior night, and Coach Blanche is coming off of a loss as well. I mean, I can't. That's a recipe for disaster. Give me the Lady Bulldogs.
The only thing that I think is a little bit sneaky in this one, Poland hasn't played in a week, and Gerard played Saturday, which is still a lot of time off, but that win on Saturday was also an overtime thriller.
True.
It's momentum. I don't think it's enough. It's not going to be enough to beat Poland, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gerard comes out of the gates with a little bit of a push, maybe makes this a close first quarter. But I think Poland's defense is just too much. I don't think Gerard's going to have enough scoring against that pressure defense. I'll take the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Poland looks good.
We move on to Lisbon traveling to Wellsville. Wellsville, another team playing 2 games in 2 nights, and Lisbon as well because they traveled to Toronto. Lisbon has 75% of the fan vote.
I'm glad you got to pick first on this one because this one's tough.
What?
This is your first pick?
Oh, it's not tough at all. Lisbon.
You're going Lisbon?
Yeah.
You don't think Wellsville rocks it for another one? No, I think Lisbon's been impressive as well. I'm gonna go with the Lady Blue Devils.
I'll rock with the fans. They have 75% of the fan vote. And we go from that to the game that you'll be at, my friend. Sebring will be traveling to Waterloo. Sebring playing their 3rd game in 3 days because they played Tuesday Jackson Milton. They played last night against Wellsville, and now they'll have to play tonight against Waterloo. So their backs are really against the wall. They were actually pretty impressively competitive with Wellsville last night after playing the night before. It's hard to do, played back-to-back nights. But they lost to Wellsville by 4, and now they'll have to play their third game in 3 nights. Tough spot for the Lady Trojans. I believe it's your first pick, and Ty, which way you leaning?
I mean, I'm going with the Sweethearts all the way in this one. They gotta
go into their gym and pick against them.
Yeah, they gotta win in that Scarlet Conference. It's senior night tonight for them. I think they only have the one senior that's on the squad too, so they're going to be celebrating her tonight. But I mean, they're going to be celebrating, I think, a little bit more with a victory tonight. Give me the Lady Vikings.
Yeah, give me the Vikings as well to get the win over Sebring on senior night, as you said. Next, we'll have Brookfield traveling to LeBray, another team in LeBray, playing 2 games in 2 nights because a lot of weather mishaps on Monday and Tuesday, so a lot of games getting pushed to yesterday. But this is Brookfield going to LeBray, and Brookfield has 80% of the fan vote. My first pick, I'm not rocking against the Warriors. I'll take Brookfield.
No, Brookfield is looking to try to stay in that gray tier of the MVAC too, and just kind of make their name be heard. Give me the Lady Warriors.
We have Crestview going to Newton Falls. 80% of the fan vote going to Crestview. Ty, which way you lean here? Newton Falls, coached by Coach Baker, always a good squad.
They're both very good squads. I mean, these are both very talented schools, too, as far as just having consistently good programs. This one in particular, though, I think I'm going to go Crestview on.
This is not the game I want to split with you with, so I will take Crestview as well.
All right.
But I'm going to be upset if Newton Falls wins that game because I was dabbling with picking.
We only got one split so far, I think, right?
I know it's kind of it's one of those nights where there's a lot of clear-cut favorites.
I think so as well, yeah.
Lakeview versus Niles. This will be in Niles. Lakeview has the 75% vote in the fan vote on Twitter. And it is my first pick, right?
Yep.
I'll take Lakeview.
Yeah, I'll take Lakeview as well. They've been competitive with some of the better teams inside the NE8, and I think they're going to put it together for a victory tonight.
So our only split is the marquee matchup of the night, which is Garfield Liberty.
I had to split with you on that one. I couldn't go Garfield with you on it.
I think you would have split with me either way. Like if I would have picked Liberty, you would have just said I'm going to pick Garfield.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was already going to – my gut was Garfield, but – I wanted to see because I thought you were going to pick Liberty, but I was just curious if your gut was saying the same thing mine was. And yeah, you were thinking Garfield as well. But hey, Liberty might have something to say. They might still be pissed off after that loss too. So this will be a fun match.
That vote has gotten ever closer in the Twitter poll. Now Liberty with just a 53% edge.
Your vote swayed them, man. They heard you speak, and they were like, oh, gotta go Garfield.
I think they heard that Garfield has 5 players averaging 2 assists per, and then the leading scorers are both pretty even at 19, about 19 a game for both.
Yeah, Liberty's got great secondary scorers, though, too. So, man, that's going to be a fun one.
If Garfield wins,
should be on the call with that one, shouldn't it? Liberty home game.
It's Alec Caberna on the call. If Garfield wins, it'll be win number 248 in the coaching career of Aaron Gilbert. He is 3 wins away from 250 in his total career. He already eclipsed the 200 mark in his Garfield career, but 250 would be his complete career if he was able to win. Tonight he'd be 2 away, so he's still chasing that milestone.
And got to do it in Liberty too. So I mean, it's gonna be exciting. It'll be a good call too for Alec. It's a good game for him.
Garfield still has their second matchups with Champion and Brookfield on the horizon as well. So if he does get to 250, he knows that he will earn it.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex got he got that boys call too with Liberty and Brookfield. That was a great game as well. And the girls call too. He was on tag team with Matt. So I mean, Liberty's been in some marquee matchups. This is definitely another one.
And that Liberty boys team is starting to really put their foot in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in it too. They got some big conference games, home conference games still too. Does Liberty? It's exciting for him too. And then he covers Mooney on a secondary, and the Mooney boys aren't doing half bad either.
We have a update from Quinn on that game we were inquiring about. Lisbon was rewarded the win. There were under 2 minutes left, and Lisbon was up 16. So they got the win over.
They said, yeah. I mean, when it's that score now, if it was like a 4-point
I
difference,
just didn't know if you could like officially do that, or if
Yeah.
like, it had to go down as a forfeit for East Palestine, or if it's an official win or what.
yeah, if it was a case like we were only down by a score or like by like 4 or 5 points, I think they might have something to gripe about. But 16 under 2 minutes, I mean, just call the game at that point.
And we never seen a game that has pretty much been decided to get stopped, because when it happened last year, remember with South Range and Poland, it was like 3 minutes into the first quarter, so they just kind of restarted everything.
Yeah, and I mean, then that's fine too. I mean, I think those were good decisions. I agree with the decisions on both of these two. I think it just makes the most sense.
Not a decision anyone ever wants to make for that situation, but
no,
we're glad we got some clarity and we got some clarity in what went on there. So Lisbon did get that win, if you were wondering, along with us, and they are 5-4 in the EOAC with the win over Valley last night as well.
Yeah, that's a good win too for Lisbon in both those games. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it doesn't make sense to get all these kids on a bus, drive them to school for
play 2 minutes of a game.
Put up a 16-point differential on a scoreboard,
and you're down 16. We're gonna play these last 2 minutes though.
It's like you're gonna warm them up and get them out on these roads, and it's like that doesn't make any sense to do that. Just doesn't.
Come on, coach, we can come back.
We're training for this 2 minutes.
There's still 13 seconds left.
Oh man.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-res futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as well. Like this, we want to get it back to our little graphic with our names on the bottom. Looks all shiny. Ty, now what I want to do in the last about half an hour or so, a little bit less the show, like I said, dive into these districts. I know we kind of yesterday we quickly went over what teams are in each district, but we really didn't have the chance to really explore some of these matchups that could happen and dive into where these seeds might go. Because when I'm looking at these districts and I'm thinking how are you going to seed these teams, I'm lost. I don't know how you would do it. Let's start with Division 1, which is just a gauntlet. Akron Hoban's going to be one. And just to recap, let's just go over it real quick. The names in this district that are going to be in Division 1. This is in no order. This is just alphabetical order. The seeds have not been announced yet, so don't want you thinking these are how the seeds are. Hoban, Aurora, Fitch, Boardman, Brush, Canfield, Canton, McKinley, Chardon, Cuyahoga Falls, Ellett, Euclid, Glen Oak, Green, Hoover, Howland, Hudson, Jackson, Kenmore, Garfield, Uniontown Lake, Lakeside, Louisville, Madison, Marietta, Maslin Perry, Mayfield, Mentor, New Philadelphia, Nordonia, both Akron North and Eastlake North, Riverside, Solon, Willoughby South, Stone Monroe Falls. Then you have Walsh, Jesuit, Theodore Roosevelt, Warren Harding, and Maslin, Washington. It's a lot of big names.
It's a meat grinder. That's all it is. It's a meat grinder.
But you look at it, Akron Hoban's going to be the one seed. Like that's just
absolutely
there's no way they're not.
I mean, they're running a gauntlet.
But then you wonder who will be the 2, and then basically, I feel like the 3, 4, and 5 seeds are all going to avoid Hoban at all costs. Hoban is going to get like the 6th seed as their biggest seed in their district. I guarantee it. 2 and 3 are going to just go in the same bracket. I would be shocked if they didn't, because no one wants to mess with Akron Hoban right now. Canton McKinley might be a good 2. Maybe Hoover or Green.
There's a lot of those out of YSN coverage schools that I think could definitely be on that 2 spot, though. There's a lot.
New Philadelphia will be up there. They're just a 2-loss team right now. It's gonna be. Then you wonder where our teams kind of fit. Louisville might get like the 8 to 12 range in a seed, but they still have 4. I mean, they're gonna enter their records now, so they should have their records in. So they'll be 12 and 4 during these seedings. So that should be good enough to get them at least. I would think at the greatest seed they could get probably is like 7 or 8, and I would think at the lowest probably 12.
Howland is in D1 as well, correct?
Howland is in D1.
You mentioned them. I would feel like they have to be somewhere in that range or just below 12, if that. But I feel like they could be ranked 8 to 12 as well with the schedule they've played. And having the
you know,
record they do.
I don't know how many coaches are going to look at like their schedule because a lot of coaches just kind of look at records. But
Yeah,
Howland beat Louisville. Don't forget about that.
that's another big one.
So they could go up higher than Louisville. Canfield, they've got 5 losses on the year, and
They're going to be middle of the pack too.
They're going to be a lot of teams that just look at record. I mean, they're not going to look at the fact that Canfield beat Massillon Perry, but lost to Howland, or because by the time they see them, Canfield's not going to have their second matchup with Howland yet. So when you look at it, and the other thing you want to look at with Division I is which one of our teams have the best chance of getting out of a district if they're not put with, obviously, Akron Hope.
I would say I
think it's Howland or Louisville.
I've said that in D1 for a couple weeks now. I think Howland and Louisville are the best teams to have a chance at getting through the meat grinder that is Division I. And
I don't think you can forget about Aurora either. I think Aurora will be a pretty high seed.
Aurora always has great athletic programs. I'm not surprised. But yeah, I think Howland and Louisville are definitely the best contenders of coming out of one of those.
That'll be a much easier question to answer on Monday when we have the brackets in front of us and we know.
Well, yeah, because if Canfield can totally avoid Hoban, they can make a nice little run too. They can.
Canfield, they last year they lost to Massillon Perry they beat Massillon Perry in the tournament after losing to them in the regular season. So for Canfield's sake, they're hoping that the story doesn't flip on itself.
Yeah,
and they beat Massillon Perry in the regular season, and then they have to play them again in the tournament and get the tables turned on them. You're not going to avoid a really good team that you're going to have to play really well to beat. This is Division I has way too many.
Yeah, way too many. Division II though is a lot more. Once we get in these D2 and D3 to D4, we have a lot of YSN schools that'll be in that.
Well, yeah,
that's going to be a fun conference.
We go
division.
We go to D2, and you got, and once again in no particular order, Alliance, Canton South, Cardinal Mooney, Chagrin Falls, Cheney. You have East. You have Edgewood, Field, Geneva, Girard, Painesville, Harvey, Hubbard, Jefferson, Kenston, Lake Catholic, Lakeview, Marlington, Niles, Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, Perry is in like Perry, Ohio, Poland, Ravenna, Salem, Southeast, Streetsboro, Struthers, West Branch, and West Geauga. I think the top 5 seeds are going to be in no particular order. They're going to be Salem, West Branch, Poland, Perry,
Marlington.
and Marlington.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But then you got to wonder.
Marlington, those were the 5 teams that I was going to say too. If I'm going to pick, I can give you 5 teams that I think can legitimately come out of that, the entire thing. And that's Poland, West Branch, Salem, Perry, and Marlington. I think are the 5 teams you got to, and 3 of them are in the EBC. But those 5 teams, I think you strongly have to consider. You look at them and have to say, I think that these teams all have a legitimate chance of coming out of it.
Man, if you're West Branch,
there's some dark horse teams in there too that could actually throw a wrench in it for sure. But I think those 5 are the definite 5 favorites. If you're going to pick 5 teams that can do it, I think those are 5 that can.
Man, if you're West Branch and you're put in a position to pick
Marlington,
Salem and Marlington, who do you pick in that situation?
Law of averages says, would you beat Marlington again? I mean, they still got to match up again.
I know, but the thing
would you flip it and beat Salem? I mean, we saw Brookfield do it to Crestview.
They won't be able to make that decision before their second matchup with Marlington, so they won't know how they really match up. They wish they could, but if they make the decision to stay in Marlington's district, if it works out like that
game becomes huge. Then it's a measuring stick game. How
if
much
they make that decision to go beat Marlington, it's like, or if you go and lose to Marlington, it's like, how do you really?
It's like, man, what do you do if you go out and get blown out of the water by Marlington a couple weeks before a tournament matchup?
And then what if it's the reverse? What if, like, for some reason, because we never know how out of town teams are going to vote, so they could put Salem below West Branch, even though Salem beat West Branch twice. Some people don't look at who you beat, they just look at your record, even though Salem's record is actually better than West Branch's too. So I doubt that Salem would be put in this position, but if they are, and they have to pick between West Branch and Marlington, that's a team that you've beaten twice and the team that you've lost to.
They would have a very.
But it's not that easy. It's not like, hey, we're just going to go and pick West Branch because we've beaten them twice. Do you really take the chance that you beat them a third time, or do you just say, we're more familiar with them? You're familiar with both the teams, really.
Yeah, but I mean, the 2 losses Salem has to Marlington, if I'm not mistaken, were pretty convincing losses too. 10 points plus.
Yeah, well, the last one ended up being 6, but they had an 18-point lead.
That's right. But I mean, do you play law of averages there and say they can't keep beating us? We can figure them out. Like, do you take that challenge to them? I think if I'm Marlington, I'd be scared of Salem coming at me again too. After beating them twice, and that last one it came down to just 6. I'd be scared if they came right for me personally too.
If I had to guess, I think right now it would come down. It would be this in 1 through 5. This is just my guess. I think Marlington would be the 1. I think Salem would be 2. I think Perry would be 3. West Branch 4. Poland 5.
I think that's fair too. Just because that EBC is so tough conference wise.
And then you wonder if it shakes up like that, you imagine that Salem and Marlington will go into different brackets. And then you would have Perry, West Branch, Poland. Perry would get to pick first. So Perry would get to decide which one they want to go to. They beat Salem in last year's district, so they probably a little bit more familiar with Salem. So they might sneak up into Salem's district. And then you have West Branch, Poland. And West Branch would have to make that decision. And Poland would have to make the decision as well if they want to go with West Branch or if they want to go away from West Branch.
Well, if you go with West Branch and you just take the other side, you at least don't have to face them until districts, right? Like,
if you take the other side, then you have to play whatever the top seed that West Branch goes into.
True, but I mean, you wouldn't see West Branch until districts. Then I mean, there's the flip side, I guess.
Well, West Branch and Poland have been meeting each other in district championships. It's kind of a tradition.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it?
Because last year was Marlington, but the 2 years before that, it was West Branch, then I believe Ursuline, and then a West Branch one even before that. So I think it was Poland, West Branch, and then Poland, Ursuline, and then Poland, West Branch. So 3 out of 4 of the 3 of the last 5. And they split. I mean, I think West Branch won that first one. Poland won the one that they won to go to the regional final. They ended up losing to Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary. And then the next time they met, West Branch won on like a last-second kind of play where Poland had the lead by 1 with the inbound, and West Branch went and stole the ball and then got fouled and hit some foul shots to take the lead late. And then, believe it or not, Jackie Grisdale got on the free throw line with a chance to win the game and missed the free throws, which is something you just never, ever, 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 ever see. It just happened to be on that night. Happened to be on that night. It just, no one's perfect. No one's going to hit them all. And it was definitely the universe's way of saying it was West Branch's night.
Yeah, absolutely. Wild world of sports, man. Anything can happen.
We learned that this weekend.
Absolutely.
But yeah, when you look at some other teams, I think outside of the YSN coverage map real quick that people should keep an eye on in Division 2, I'm looking at Streetsboro always has a pretty decent team. West Geauga is the team that Poland beat to get into the district championship last year on a buzzer beater to send it into overtime and then won in overtime. So West Geauga is going to be right there. I think Kinston's going to be right there as well. So you got to watch out for Kinston. I think Salem beat Kinston in last year's district semifinal. So outside of that, I think the outside of YSN teams that really you have to really worry about, obviously you have to worry about everybody, but I think it's going to be Perry, Kinston, and West Geauga, the 3 main non-YSN teams that are going to have their hats in that ring.
Yeah, I think so as well. In looking at those teams in particular, you talk about West Geauga. I mean, yeah, in Poland, they took Poland to the distance, so they could throw a whole.
That was last year when Poland had Jackie Grisdale.
Yeah, they could throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing. I mean, Perry, of course, we already said is going to be one of the tougher ones to beat, and then Marlington, of course, too. Kind of in but out of YSN coverage because we get to see them a lot there. They're featured a lot on YSN.
By the way, that was a wild 2 districts that we had last year in Division 2. You had a buzzer beater from Poland descending into overtime in a semifinal, and then in the other district final, you had Perry beating Salem on a buzzer beater as well. So just a nuts district. It's going to be more nuts this year as well.
And Salem could meet Perry again.
Revenge on the mind.
There's so many interesting storylines going into this one.
I'm going to say it. I think this year's Salem team is better than last year's.
I think it's a fair argument.
They don't score as much. They don't score as much, but they're faster. They're more aggressive. And I think despite not having the quote-unquote superstar that every team has to circle to stop, like the Kyla Jamesons of the world, I really do honestly think that this Salem team is better than last year's. They're definitely faster than last year's.
I think that's a fair point to make as well. I think they're definitely faster, and that's part of the reason why they're so good at defense.
And then, obviously, you can never count out a team like Notre Dame Cathedral. I mean, the schedule they play is brutal. They're going to have not a top seed record. They'll probably be in like that mid seed range, but the schedule they play is brutal, and they're going to be well prepared for anyone they come up against.
Yeah, NDCL is always a team that, I mean, we talk about. I mean, at end of the season, they schedule up for this reason. They're the Moonies and the Ursulines of the world. They play a tough schedule, so they're prepared for the tournament, and that's no different this year for them.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go through and look at Division 3, which is going to be just as crazy and just as hard to sort out. I do not envy these coaches and having to seed these districts. And Division 3, I believe 15 of the 25 teams have at least 8 wins on the season.
I think we were talking about that too, and that's incredible because, and like what Coach Gilbert said too, when you go into playoffs, you don't know what 8-win team you're getting. You're getting the 8-win team or the 8-loss team. Who?
The Berkshire is the team that he used. I'm like, are you going to get the Berkshire team that shows up and looks really good in those 8 wins, or are you going to get the Berkshire team that dropped the 8 games and lost? But to go through the teams, and this is in no particular order, just alphabetical. No seeds have been announced yet. Don't want to stress that enough. Brookfield, Berkshire, Champion, Columbiana, Conneaut, Crestview, Crestwood, East Palestine, Garfield, Grand Valley, Kirtland, LeBray, Liberty, Camel Memorial, Middle Ridge, Mogador, Pymatuning Valley, Rootstown, South Range, Aquinas, United, Ursuline, Waterloo, Wycliffe. And you'll look at that. I have the records as of last Saturday, I believe. So these records aren't exact by now. Of course, these teams have probably played a little bit more since then. But I do believe I'm right in saying that 15 of these teams have at least 8 wins on the season. They were seeded strictly by record and nothing else, and that's literally what the coaches did and just said the best record goes wins wise. Liberty would be the one. They have 14 wins. They are 14-1. Rootstown is 11-4. United is 11-4. Columbiana is 11-6. Kirtland's 10-3. Brookfield's 10-3. Pymatuning Valley's 10-4. South Range is 10-5. Once again, these aren't up-to-date records. They're just records based on the last time these teams were entered into the spreadsheet. Garfield's 10-5. Waterloo is now 12-1. You look at Champion's 9-3. LeBray's 9-6. Mogador's 9-7. Berkshire's 8-8. Crestview's 8-8. 6-8, excuse me. And then St. Thomas and Crestwood both have 5 wins. So it's what do you do with these teams? Where do you see them? Ty, I think it would be valid to say Liberty's probably going to get the 1 seed in this bracket.
I would think Liberty's going to get a high seed, but then again, like if you're looking at records, where do you seed a team like Waterloo?
I don't know, but I think Liberty will get the 1 seed, 14-1.
14-1, but if Waterloo's 12-1, where do you seed them then at that point? Like that's a good question to ask too. Does Waterloo get?
Here's the bugaboo about that, Ty, though, because like I said, coaches don't look at who you've played, or they just sometimes it's about who they've seen in the districts before. And Liberty was in the district championship 3 years ago. They're in the district championship 2 years ago, or district semifinals 2 years ago. So these coaches kind of, okay, Liberty's established as someone that gets into the district now with Coach Watson.
Proven too.
So there's a little bit of a respect factor too there. So
Yeah,
I think it's pretty safe to say Liberty will be the 1 seed.
That's proven in football season too. When we had vote a couple years ago, and we saw Mooney get a pretty decent seed off of, I think, 1 or 2 losses or 1 or 2 wins in the season total. And I mean, just respect to the name too. So I mean, I absolutely agree with that. I'm just saying though, I mean, record does look impressive though if you're looking at record alone.
Here's where it gets funky, because you gotta decipher a 2 seed. And, you got Rootstown in there with 11 wins. United has 11 wins. Columbiana has 11 wins. Waterloo has 12 wins. South Range has 10 wins.
That's what I was saying.
And
that's what I was saying about Waterloo. I didn't say they should get 1 seed, but I'm saying 1 to 5. I mean, you got to feel like Waterloo might get a seed in there at 12-1. I mean,
I don't know who's going to be the 2.
I don't know who's going to be the 2 either, because South Range, if you're going off of just respective name too, can be put in there. But, I mean, who were the other ones that you were saying in there?
Okay, so here are the teams with at least 10 wins. And there's a lot of them. Rootstown, United, Columbiana all have 11. Waterloo has 12. Kirtland, Brookfield,
good one.
High Valley, and South Range have 10, along with Garfield.
There's a lot. That's going to be a fun one. I can't wait to see that one.
Garfield went to last year's regional. So did South Range. South Range went to the last year's regional final. Brookfield went to the district final. Those are some teams that might get some respect from what they did last year.
You would think.
And you won't know any. I mean, the seeds are going to be voted on this week, so it's not like you're going to see Brookfield versus Garfield again. They will be able to see Liberty versus Garfield, so that might shake things up a little bit on seed voting if Garfield was able to get the win, or if Liberty wins decisively or whatever.
Yeah, what if Garfield goes in and wins by 20? Like, if we're throwing what-if scenarios, we keep saying if Liberty wins decisively, is Garfield a 2 seed then if they go in and beat Liberty in Liberty convincingly?
Can they knock Liberty out of the 1 seed?
That's an even better question, because I mean, coaches would see that score. You're gonna see that score and be like, whoa, like that's kind of jarring. I don't know, man. I mean, tonight's game might mean a little bit more than just the MVAC Grayside conference on the line. Like, it has that big implication, but tournament draw might be on the line too, and where these teams place. At least with Garfield, a win here could definitely shoot Garfield up to maybe 2, maybe 1 seed too.
The thing that makes D3 a little bit easier, and I can't read Chris Ziegler's comment because this thing doesn't let me scroll, but I'll have to put it up and just read it on the screen.
Out of the 10 teams in a D3, a lower seed may be better to then pick your path. Honestly, he's right. And like being a lower seed, you can then see the competition too that's ahead of you, and you could kind of pick the easiest path.
I think he's saying that because I think United is going to be in that situation.
And that very well might be the case, and that might be a recipe for disaster for teams, because if United gets to pick their path and they know kind of what they need to navigate through in each one, I mean, that's an advantage, I would think, for United then.
And I think another team that's got over 10 wins is going to have that path is going to be Columbiana.
The big thing too, but the big thing to note for these 11 and 10 win teams, Columbia and United, they get to pick their path, but the first 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, are higher seed.
Right.
So you can get a couple games before neutral.
If they're like an 11 seed, they can still host. They can be like, I mean, I've seen 11 seeds be like getting the bye because the 1 seed doesn't want it. So they would play the winner of like 20 versus 18, and they'll get the home playoff game. So just because you're 11 or 12 or 10 doesn't mean you won't get to host a tournament game.
And that's a big thing, too. If you're in that United Columbiana, you get to kind of pick your path and you get to host those first couple games. So, I mean, it's kind of the best of both worlds. You host the first couple and then it goes neutral site. Who cares at that point? Then you're just playing basketball games for a tournament.
If they're going to Hannah Montana it and get the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I don't know who you go to. Yeah, I'm pretty confident Liberty's going to get one.
I think they're going to get one depending on tonight. Like, the only way they don't get one, I think, is that scenario I laid out. If Garfield goes out and blows them out of the water, then I think you might see Liberty get voted one. But I think at that point, you might see one be up in the air. I don't know if you put Garfield in that spot. That might be a good spot. But there's some other teams you could definitely put in that one seed then, I think, at that point.
Then you wonder, though, I don't know if the records are already submitted, if like this game will count.
True. That is true.
Like a lot of the coaches, I think D3 gets a little bit easier because you have a lot less teams that are like outside of your area that don't see your scores. Like West Geauga doesn't see Poland scores unless they like search them out.
Yeah.
But all these teams are going to see each other's scores. Like your Rootstown's going to see Waterloo scores. They're going to see Garfield scores. They're going to see, Liberty scores and South Range scores and Pie Valley scores. United's going to see Columbiana's. I think the only team that's kind of in there that's not going to be known about a lot is Kirtland. They're 10-3, and I'm sure coaches are going to do like the dive in research to see who Kirtland has played and how much they deserve. So Kirtland might be a monkey wrench too. I think that'll be the unknown. Shocker! Yeah, there's Kirtland. There's Kirtland is throwing monkey wrenches into everything again.
I know we're running out of time, but we got our full show tomorrow, too. We got to talk about D4 tomorrow. We got to give them due time and due diligence for tomorrow show. But we also have so many Friday matchups that are going to be.
Records have been submitted. They were due at midnight last night.
Okay,
voting is now until Saturday.
But since voting is until Saturday, this game might not count for records, but if coaches are paying attention, this might influence the voting. So this is still big for tournament draw.
And Mike Swinehart believes that once you're not locked into a vote. So if someone says the vote here, like if they say, okay, I want Liberty to be one, they can go back in and change it if Liberty were to lose.
So this is still a very big game then for tournament draw. And
absolutely.
That's going to be huge.
Once again, we'll have the brackets on Monday. Sunday will be the tournament draw, and
we'll be
have our brackets on Monday.
Talk Division 4 tomorrow a little bit about the matchups that we could see and deep dive into that. And we got so many Friday matchups to pick tomorrow as well. So many big conference matchups that are going to be conference on pretty much on the line or big implications on the conference standings.
All of that plus recaps and more. Tomorrow on Running Point, we're taking a 22-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow from 12 to 2. Casual Sports Podcast coming up from 2 to 3. Power Hour from 3 to 4. And then a bunch of basketball tonight. I believe the first tip-offs are at 6 with you and a couple others. And then we'll have you with even more at 7 o'clock.
Tune in. Casual